Pope Francis, the spiritual leader of over 1.2 billion Catholics, has always been a figure of transformation. His leadership has emphasized humility, inclusivity, and accessibility, challenging long-standing traditions in the Vatican. Now he is once again making history by breaking an 800-year-old custom, not only in the way he has led the Church but also in how he wishes to be laid to rest. For centuries, it has been customary for popes to be buried beneath St. Peter's Basilica, the final resting place of over 90 popes, including St. Peter himself. However, Pope Francis has chosen a different path. In a surprising decision, he has expressed his wish to be buried in the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, a church deeply significant to him. Santa Maria Maggiore holds a special place in Pope Francis's heart. Throughout his papacy, he has visited the church over 100 times, often praying before the revered icon of Mary, Salus Populi Romani. His decision to be buried there is not a rejection of Vatican customs, but rather a reflection of his devotion to Mary and his desire for a more personal, humble farewell. By choosing Santa Maria Maggiore over St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Francis is sending a clear message about his beliefs. Instead of embracing grandeur, he is prioritizing simplicity and spiritual connection. His choice aligns with his lifelong commitment to humility and service, reinforcing the values he has championed throughout his papacy. Alongside his burial plans, Pope Francis has also made another historic decision regarding his funeral. Traditionally, popes are laid to rest in 3 coffins, an inner wooden one, a lead coffin, and a final wooden coffin, all adorned with seals and crosses, symbolizing the Pope's eternal bond with the Church. However, Pope Francis has chosen to forgo this elaborate tradition. Instead, he has requested a single wooden casket lined with zinc, in keeping with his belief in modesty. This decision is consistent with the way he has lived his life as Pope. From the moment he took office, he chose to reside in a modest guest house instead of the Grand Apostolic Palace. He has driven simple vehicles, avoided luxury, and emphasized the Church's role in serving the poor rather than accumulating material wealth. His choice of a plain wooden casket is yet another reflection of these principles. Many Catholics view this decision as both unexpected and inspiring. It is reminiscent of St. Francis of Assisi, after whom Pope Francis took his name. St. Francis was known for renouncing wealth and embracing simplicity, and in a similar way, Pope Francis is choosing a humble burial that mirrors his vision for the Church. His departure from tradition does not stop there. Pope Francis has also altered the arrangements for his funeral. Typically, when a pope dies, his body is placed on an elevated platform in St. Peter's Basilica, where the faithful can pay their respects from a distance. However, Pope Francis has requested a more personal approach. His body will rest in an open wooden casket for 3 days, allowing mourners to come closer and say their goodbyes in a more intimate setting. This decision reflects his leadership style. Throughout his papacy, Pope Francis has sought to connect directly with people. He has embraced the sick, washed the feet of prisoners, and welcomed refugees. Even in death, he remains committed to closeness with the faithful, reinforcing his belief that the Church should be open and accessible to all. Another change concerns the confirmation of his passing. Traditionally, a pope's death is announced with a formal ceremony in a chapel. However, Pope Francis has requested a simpler confirmation in his bedroom, away from elaborate rituals. This once again highlights his preference for humility over pomp. These choices are not just personal. They reflect Pope Francis's broader vision for the Church. He has always believed that traditions should serve faith, not the other way around. One of the most debated decisions of his papacy was his 2021 decree, Traditionis Custodes, which restricted the use of the traditional Latin Mass. While some saw this as an attack on Catholic heritage, Pope Francis believed that different forms of worship were causing division. By limiting the use of the Latin Mass, he sought to unify Catholics under a common liturgy. His decision was met with mixed reactions. Some felt that an important part of their faith was being taken away, while others agreed that unity was necessary. Regardless of the controversy, It showed his willingness to make difficult decisions for what he believed was the greater good of the Church. Throughout his tenure, Pope Francis has been a leader of transformation. From his burial plans to his funeral arrangements to his reforms of church practices, he has reshaped the way the Vatican operates. As the first Jesuit pope, his approach has been rooted in education, service, and adaptability.